What's up YouTube? Welcome to CodAffection. Today we are going to discuss how to upload and retrieve images in ASP.NET Core MVC application. I have already uploaded a video on image upload with ASP.NET MVC, not in ASP.NET Core MVC. Same source code won't work with ASP.NET Core MVC application, so hence I am creating a new video with ASP.NET Core image upload and retrieve. We have already discussed how to implement CRUD operations with ASP.NET Core MVC application. I have given the video link in video description and inside the first comment of the video. So here is my Visual Studio 2019. So let's create a new project. From these two drop downs, you can select C#, then from this last drop down here, you can select web. Then select this project template, ASP.NET Core web application. Click on next. Then name your application here, image upload, and then here I'm just pasting the location where I want to save this project. Click on next. We are going to make a web application inside .NET Core, so select .NET Core from this first drop down here and then the latest version of ASP.NET Core, and then select this web application template for MVC Model View Controller, and then I will uncheck this configuration for HTTPS. Click on create. So here we have the brand new ASP.NET Core MVC application. As a first step, we have to create a model for image upload. For that, inside this models folder here, I will just add a C# file like this, image model. To work with SQL Server database inside this ASP.NET Core application, we will be using Entity Framework Core DB first approach. So first of all, we have to install corresponding NuGet packages. For that, right click on this project here and click on Manage NuGet Packages. Then inside this Browse tab, search for Microsoft Entity Framework Core. From this tab, here we have to install 3 packages. So first of all, we have to install this core package, Microsoft Entity Framework Core. From this version drop down here, select the same version as that of the ASP.NET Core that you have installed on your system. You can see the corresponding version. If you expand these dependencies, inside that we have frameworks, and then select this Microsoft.NET Core app, and here inside this properties tab you can see the same version. So we have selected the same version here and click on install, click on OK, accept. Installation of the package is successful. Now we have to install this package, Entity Framework Core SQL Server, since we are going to use SQL Server inside this application. So we have to install this, selecting the same version, click on install. Now finally we have to install this Entity Framework Core Tools package in order to work with operations like migrations from Entity Framework Core. So let's install this final package Tools, selecting the same version, click on install. So here we have completed with installation of Entity Framework Core packages. Now back to this model, image model here. Now let's define this class corresponding to the table where we want to save image informations. So first of all, we have the primary key int image ID, and then we have a title which is of the type string title, and then finally we have image name. This property will be corresponding to the primary key, so we have to mention that inside this attribute here, key. Now we have to add the corresponding namespace for this key attribute. For that, you can use this shortcut, hold Control then press period simple and select the first using statement, and thereby here we have the corresponding namespace added. Now let's specify column data type using this column attribute here. So column, let's add corresponding namespace using the same shortcut, hold Control and then press period. Type name is equal to nvarchar 50. Now let me copy this and pasting for image name column here, nvarchar 100. In order to work with Entity Framework Core, we have to create the class for DB context. So let's create that inside this models folder here. Add class image db context. We have to inherit this class from this parent class db context. Let's add corresponding namespace using the same shortcut control period. Now let's add the corresponding constructor using this snippet CTOR. For this constructor we have a single parameter db context options, which is of the same db context class image db context as options. Now let's call the parent constructor using base, and we have to pass the same parameter options here. We will be discussing need of this constructor parameter options in a bit. As you know, DB context class act as an intermediate between Entity Framework Core and SQL Server DB. So this class actually decides what we want inside our DB. So basically inside the DB we need a table corresponding to this image model. It has 3 properties. This is the primary key, and inside this we'll save the title for the uploaded image, and inside this image name column we will save a unique name for each uploaded image. Uploaded image will be saved inside this www root folder here. We'll be discussing that in a bit. So in order to create a table corresponding to this image model, we have to create a property corresponding to the model here. So let's create that here. db set of the type image model, and then I will name this property as images. So during migration there will be a table with this name images for the corresponding model here. Before doing migration we have to pass values required for this constructor parameter options. For this parameter we need 2 informations: what type of database we are going to use and the corresponding database connection string. Inside this application we will be using SQL Server database, and we have to provide the corresponding connection string also. We will be doing that inside this startup class here. We have this function configure services. Here we have already called this default function add controller with views, meaning this line of code here is responsible for making this application into an MVC application. Otherwise this ASP.NET Core will be a console application. Like this function call, we have to call another function for passing values for this constructor parameter here. Services dot add db context class can be called, which is of the type image db context. Let's add the corresponding namespace. Inside this function we can have this arrow function with options. With this options parameter we have to mention the database that we are going to use here. We'll be using SQL Server, so we can call this function use SQL Server. Let's add corresponding namespace. Inside this function we have to specify the connection string for the DB. So first of all we will be saving that inside this app settings.json file here. So we have connection strings. This is an object. Inside that we can have any number of connection strings. For this development I will be naming this connection string as dev connection. Now let me paste the string template for connection string here. First of all we have the server, where we have to specify the SQL Server instance name. In this application we will be using the local instance SQL Server Express, and inside this database we have to specify the database name that we want to use, image db. We will be using Windows authentication mode for this database, so we have set this trusted connection as true, and then in order to execute multiple queries in a single batch we have set this property multiple active result sets. So we have saved this connection string inside this app settings.json. Now let's access that inside this function using this configuration here. We just need to do this configuration dot get connection string function can be called. Inside that we have to provide the connection name that we have provided here, which is dev connection. Let me copy this and pasting here. So here we have passed values for this DB context parameter options here. The value for this options parameter will be passed when an instance of this image DB context class is created. And this type of method is called dependency injection in ASP.NET Core. We have already discussed dependency injection in our previous tutorials. I will explain how this dependency injection works once we create a controller. For now, we have done everything for creating the database. So let's do the migration for this DB model here. During migration, we'll be creating a database called ImageDB. Inside that, we will have a table with these columns, and corresponding table name will be images. So let's create the DB using migration. For that, select the project, then go to Tools, and you get Package Manager, then Package Manager Console. First of all, we have to add a migration. So add migration. I will name this migration as initial create. Hit enter. As a result of that, you can see the corresponding C# file here. Okay. Now let's create the actual physical DB for this model. For that, we have to execute one more command, update database. Hit enter. That's it. We have completed with the DB migration. Let's check that inside this SQL Server Management Studio. Let me refresh this databases node here. So here we have the new DB, ImageDB. Inside that we have this tables node, and here's the new table images. Let's check corresponding table design. We have 3 columns: image ID, title, and image name. For this image ID column, you can check the column properties here. It is specified as identity specification here. So we don't have to insert values into this column image ID. SQL Server will do that. It will start from 1 and incremented by 1 upon new record insertion. So that's all about the database part. Now back to the Visual Studio. Now in order to work with images, let's create an MVC controller. For that, right click on this controllers, then add controller. I will select this option MVC Controller with views using Entity Framework. Model class will be image model. DB context will be image DB context. And then name of this controller will be image controller. Click on add. So here we have the MVC controller image created as a result of scaffolding mechanism. Inside that we have all of the actions required for the correct operations on this image model. Along with this controller, you can see corresponding views inside this folder image. For now, inside this controller, you can see this constructor with image DB context, and it is assigned to this private variable underscore context. We are passing values for this DB context as a result of dependency injection that we have mentioned inside this startup class here. And that context instance is assigned to this private variable here, and actions inside this controller make use of this private variable to do operations inside the DB. So any MVC controller with constructor parameter of the type DB context, image DB context, value will be passed from dependency injection. Before explaining each of these actions, let's run this application. For that, go to debug, then start without debugging. So this is how the fresh ASP.NET Core MVC application looks like. Now let's look how to access newly created MVC controller for image. For that, let's check route configuration for this ASP.NET Core application, which is defined inside this startup class here. First of all, we have controller / action name / ID parameter. By default, home will be the default controller and index will be the default action. In order to access this image controller, we can do this image. By default, it will load the index action. Here we have a table to list all of the inserted image details. For now, we don't have any such image uploaded. For that, click on this create new. So with this form, we can upload an image. Let's check what happens behind this scene. Inside this MVC controller, so here we have the get action for create it should return this view create. As you can see here we have a text box to enter the image title, and here we have the image name. Inside this form we are not passing image name. Instead of that, we have to have an image uploader. For that, inside this image model, I'm going to add a new property which is only for the purpose of displaying the control for image upload, not for adding a column inside corresponding SQL Server table images. For that, we can add this property of the type iFormFile. Now let's add the corresponding using statement. Name of this property will be image file. In order to skip generating a corresponding column inside the table, we can add this attribute not mapped. Now let's add the corresponding display name. It will be displayed inside the form label here, like we have image name here. So let's do that. So display name, let's add the corresponding namespace upload file. Now let's add the same attribute for this image name also. We need a space in between image and name. Let me copy this and pasting here. That's it. Now we have to show an image uploader corresponding to this property image file inside this create form here. For that, we can do this image file. Let me copy this and pasting for remaining controls. Now let's build this project and reload this page. So here we have the file uploader. Now I just want to remove this border from here. For that, we can just remove this class form control. Currently, this is a file uploader. Instead of that, I want to restrict that for only image. For that, we can mention this accept attribute. We just need to do this image /. If you want to restrict this control for PNG, you can do this PNG. And if you want to add multiple extensions, you can do that like this. For now, we will allow any image type. So we can do this. Now we have to do one more thing. When a form contains an image uploader, we have to mention that inside this form tag here with this attribute encryption type as form data. Since we have only made changes inside this views file, we just need to reload this page. We don't have to build the project. If there is any change inside the controller, we have to build the project again. Now when we submit this form, it will reach up to the action for post. So here is the corresponding post action method for create. Okay. The data from this form will be bind to this parameter image model. Instead of image name, we have to bind image file. So here is the meat part of this tutorial. Inside this action method, we have to save the uploaded image or posted image from this form into a form inside this application here, and then we have to insert a new record along with the saved image name. So let's look how we can do that. First of all, we'll check whether this model is valid or not. For now, we don't have any validation. We will be saving uploaded image into this folder here. For that, let me create a new folder, image. So first of all, we have to get the corresponding physical folder path. So first of all, we can do this www root path is equal to. In order to get such environment details, we have to inject this property to this constructor here, iWeb host environment. Let's add the corresponding namespace host environment. For this constructor parameter also, we need a private property like we have for DB context here. In order to do that, we have a shortcut using quick actions here. Click on this option, create an initialize field. That's it. So here we have the private property and it is assigned to the constructor parameter here. For now, I want to add this underscore prefix for this private property so that we can easily identify them. Now using this injected property, we can access the physical path. Host environment dot web root path can be accessed. Now we have to retrieve corresponding uploaded image name. For that we can do this. File name is equal to path. Let's add the corresponding namespace dot get file name without extension image model dot image file dot file name. Here we are just trying to generate a unique name for the uploaded image before saving that into this image folder here, so that we can avoid the duplicate images. Along with file name we have to get the extension also. So let me copy this and pasting below extension get extension. Now let's generate a unique file name. File name is equal to file name. Into that I'm just trying to append the current server date time. So we can do this date time dot now, and let's format that YY and month and seconds and microseconds. Now finally let's concat the extension. Now we can assign this same file name into the model like this, image model dot image name. Now let's define a variable to store the path. Path is equal to path dot combine function can be called. First of all we have the www root path, which is the path, physical path up to this folder. Inside that we have this folder / image, and into that we have to combine file name. In order to save this image we can do this. File stream is equal to new file stream. First of all we have to pass the path and then type of operation, which is create. So file mode dot create. Inside this using statement we can do this avoid image model dot image file dot copy to async function can be called. As a parameter we have to pass this file stream. So with these lines of code we will save the image into the folder image. So save image to www root / image, and here we will insert the record. Sorry, we forgot to add the / after image here. Now let's check whether it is working or not. For that, first of all we have to build this project. After successful build, back to this project, reload this page. Now let me select an image for upload. Image title will be Cornwall. Submit the form. Boom, that's it. So here we have the newly inserted record corresponding to the uploaded image. Here we have the title and here we have the saved image name. Let's check whether we have saved that image into this folder image here. That's it. Now let's make sure that it is inserted into the DB. So right click on this table, select top 1000 rows. That's it. All of the inserted image details will be saved into this table, and same will be displayed inside this index table here. Now let's look how to retrieve and display the uploaded image and then delete that image. It can be done with this hyperlink here, delete. Corresponding image details will be displayed here. Along with these properties, we have to show the image that we have uploaded. For that, let's look what we have inside the controller here. So first of all, we will have a get method, action method for delete, and corresponding view will be here. Now let me copy these two, dt and dd, for showing uploaded image. Okay, instead of this I will just pass the string uploaded image. Here we have to show the uploaded image. For that we can use this img control src is equal to, here we have to pass the corresponding image path. For that we can do this. We are specifying the path after this www root here. Inside that we have this folder image, Inside this image folder, we have an image with this name, model.imageName. So here we just pass the path after this www root here. In order to append folder path up to this root file, we have to add this attribute ASP append version as true. And I will set the width and height to 250 pixel. Now let me save this and back to the application. Let's reload this page. That's it. So here we have retrieved the uploaded image. Now let's look how to delete this image. That will be handled inside the post delete action here. Because of this default code here, it will delete the corresponding record from our SQL Server table images. Along with that, we have to delete the corresponding image saved into this folder image. So let's look how we can do that. Delete image from www root/image. First of all, we have to retrieve the corresponding image path. So we can do this path.combine function can be called, and then we have so here we have the path up to the root, and then into that we have to append image folder name and then the image name that we can access from this model image name. Now first of all, we will check whether that corresponding image is there inside the folder. So we can do this system.io.file.exist function can be called. Into that we just need to pass this path image path. If it exists, we can delete the corresponding image. So let me copy this and pasting here. Instead of this exist function, we just need to call delete. Here it will delete the record. Let's check whether it is working or not. For that, let's build this project. After successful build, back to this project, reload this page, click on delete. Boom, that's it. Let's check whether corresponding record is deleted from the SQL Server table. Yes, it is. Now let's check whether we have the corresponding image here. No, it is deleted from the image folder also. So that's it guys. Here we have discussed how to retrieve and upload images in ASP.NET Core MVC. In this tutorial, we have not implemented edit or update operation. You can easily implement that if you have watched our previous tutorial where we have discussed how to implement CRUD operations in ASP.NET Core MVC. If you found this video helpful, please thumbs up this video, and for more awesome videos like this, please be subscribed to this channel CodAffection. Please like and share this video with your friends and colleagues. Have a nice day. Bye.